if you have poor control of your blood sugars, poor control of your weight, these are things that directly are correlated to your fertility. Every single study, if you Google, you can see as weight goes up, implantation and pregnancy goes down.
Amazing. So thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. For people in your audience that don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Shahin Ghadir. I am a fertility specialist at Southern California Reproductive Center in the heart of Beverly Hills. We're considered to be one of the larger fertility centers in the entire country. We were rated top 5 in the world on a recent study that was done, which we're really proud of. We're affiliated both with Cedars-Sinai and UCLA medical centers, and all the fertility doctors at those 2 centers, and also about 29 of the doctors in town actually come to our practice and do their IVF cases here. So we're very proud, and we've hit one of the highest success rates in the world of fertility for the last, I want to say, like, I don't know how many years in a row, which is around 80% now. Going to pregnancy. Yeah, we hit even a month that we were at 84%, which is just like
that's
fantastic.
Really high.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We're very, very happy to have that happening right now. We're very proud, lots of hard work. And, you know, the topic that we were talking about when we did your podcast was so exciting and interesting to me. I thought that this would be a very, very, very important time for people to learn more.
Yes, no, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Dr. Shahir. I like to say Dr. Shahir. I know your last name, but I can say, I've been calling you that.
You can just call me Dr. G. Everyone calls me Dr. G.
That's perfect.
Okay, so you can feel free to do that. That works.
Okay, perfect. So I let everyone know that you were so kind, and your team was so kind to reach out to do a podcast together it's a brand new podcast, right? So I was talking about that. And if you want to share a little bit about that, please do.
We're very, very proud. It's called The Fertile Life Podcast by Dr. Shahin Ghadir. And The Fertile Life is not only talking about fertility, but it's talking about a lot of other things that are really important in female reproductive lives, how to manage a life, how to manage a busy life. It's talking about a lot of lifestyle things as well, which I think are really important, and the basis for having a strong background and being able to achieve your goals of fertility. I think all of that really needs to be done by looking at a lot of things. And that's why I think our call and our discussion the other day that I hope to have more of right now was so incredibly important, because so many people need to balance a lot of different aspects of their life to have success in my world of fertility. So we call it The Fertile Life, and we're really proud. And there's some excitement going on with the podcast right now and our future of where it's going already. For not even 2 months of being out, we've been approached by a huge platform that has some of the #1 podcasts in the entire country. So we're really excited about that.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. And I'm so honored that, I was a guest on that. And I think our episode drops in just a couple days, right?
Yes, I am. I think it does. I do.
Amazing. So, when that drops, you guys you turn on your post notifications everywhere, and I'll make sure to share that here on my stories, on all our different platforms, because Dr. G and I dived into a few really golden nuggets that you want to know about. So you'll definitely want to download and then subscribe to the Fertile Life podcast. And today we're going to talk more about nutrition, right, Doctor?
Yes. Yes. Something that I love.
Yeah, and I'm so happy about that and happy to share more. But I think, what I'd love to just start off with is there are a lot of women on here, because this has been a topic that's actually been requested, right? So there are women that literally don't even know where to begin in the process of pursuing IVF. Let's say they're single, and they're looking to freeze their eggs. Or let's say they do have a partner and they've been trying and they haven't been successful. I think people just at a very base, don't even know, what should they be looking for when they're looking for a doctor? I mean, I know you're the best, but not everyone can.
Thank you. So first, I mean, the first thing is that, there's great doctors around the country and around the world. We're very lucky that the technology for the world of fertility happens to be one of the best locations is the USA. Many of the countries that are up there with all of us and do all these things amazing, some of the European countries, they're rather behind when it comes to the world of fertility. It's very shocking, like in the UK and in Australia, where everything is up to par with what we do in the United States in so many areas of life. Fertility is really behind. And that was concerning. And when I went to those two places and when I was learning about people's journeys and stories and things that they've been doing to try to achieve pregnancy, it was really shocking to me. So for that reason, we're very fortunate here in the United States. We have some of the best fertility care that I've seen. I do consultations with people from around the world. So people are calling me from all over the world. And now, during this pandemic, we just learned that you could do so much by phone call and by telemedicine. So we've been helping people around the entire world. And it's by calling, you can set up a consult. Now, if you can't, for some reason, do a consult by phone with me and you are interested in your fertility, I think you need to start doing some research. You need to start doing some research. I think reading reviews is great. There's always some crazy people writing some crazy reviews for everyone out there. So I would be careful. But I think people have learned how to weed out some real reviews and not real reviews. So reading some reviews about people and their real experiences in clinics is, I think, a great opportunity to learn. We had someone just give us a 1-star the other day because she called twice and no one picked up the phone. So, just one of those things. But we have people that are writing, pages long of detail by detail what they did into their entire process and how they got pregnant on their first cycle. So you got to do your research. The success rates from clinics is also really important. So the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technologies allows people to see what their success rate of the clinic is. It's called SART, S-A-R-T. You can go on there. The couple things to look for is if the clinic is doing very few cases but has a high success rate, that is something to be wary of. If the clinic is not on SART at all, that's something to be wary about. If you're not publishing your success rates, that's something to be worried about. Affiliations with hospitals. And I think then at that point, so looking at the reviews of the physicians, their success rates, their affiliations, I think all of these things allow for you to pick a good place. And most importantly is when you do a consult with your doctor, if you have a good feeling or a good vibe, that is so incredibly important when looking for a doctor. And especially in every field. I mean, not just my field, but in my field, there's enough doctors out there that you can pick someone that you're going to feel great and comfortable with.
Right. No, and honestly, Dr. G, it may sound like those are just such simple pieces of advice, but I really think that most women, when they're just getting started, they really have no idea. And I would say that when I did IVF and I had not discovered you at that point, I was really kind of lost. None of my girlfriends had gone through the process yet. And so even just saying something as basic as make sure you do your research, I didn't know about SART at the time. And so that's also helpful. And I think that's something that you brought up at the very beginning and why we have this topic today is just about how good nutrition is so vital, not just to have a healthy body, but to have a healthy pregnancy and to really, really create an environment for your body to be fertile.
100%.
And it's interesting that most people don't really understand why nutrition is so important for the reproductive system, and how it helps you get pregnant. And is that overstepping for me to say that nutrition helps you get pregnant?
100%. If you have poor control of your blood sugars, poor control of your weight, these are things that directly are correlated to your fertility. Every single study, if you Google, you can see as weight goes up, implantation and pregnancy goes down. Complication rates of being pregnant. So let's say you're lucky enough to actually get pregnant, but you're rather overweight or not in good health, that is actually a big problem. So nutrition is a key part of it. A good diet that we had, touched base, and hopefully we get to touch base about some key things in having in a diet, but full of antioxidants and full of foods that revive the body and give you energy and give you power is so important, so much more important than someone who just keeps their weight under control and is just like calorie counting.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because I actually literally just had a conversation yesterday, with a client who is trying to get pregnant. She had a miscarriage, obviously gained a lot of weight in that process, and she's trying to lose weight, but still get pregnant. She's trying to count her calories and limit her food intake, but she's still trying to get pregnant. So, one of the most important things, as Dr. Shahin had said about, Dr. G had said about nutrition, is really make sure that you put high quality antioxidants in your diet. And you can come through a supplement. We know what vegetables and fruits are high in antioxidants. Those are all the really, really colorful ones. I talk so much about eating the rainbow just to make it really, really simple for you to remember what you need to do throughout the course of a day. Whether you do it in one meal or you do it throughout the course of the day, just check off all those colors, because these vegetables and fruits are really dense in phytonutrients and the vitamins and minerals that you need. And they're also high in antioxidants. But if you can't get it all through your diet, then at least do a really high quality antioxidant supplement, and stay away from trans fats, saturated fats, stay away from sugars. It again sounds so basic, but the basics are your building blocks. And people had some questions about alcohol, because we had a ton of questions that came in. We have questions right now also.
I know, I see them coming in so fast. So reading them.
Yeah, I know. We'll definitely. And you guys, thank you so much. I just going to interrupt myself for a moment, and again, just want to acknowledge the audience. There's over 600 of you here. Thank you so much for being here with us and for being engaged and sending in your questions. We will try and get through as many as we can. And whatever questions we don't get to, you can go and follow Dr. G. His account is pinned right here at the very bottom. And you can go follow Dr. G as well as the podcast. And they're amazing. They will answer all the questions. They're great on DMs. So if you have something that's very personal to you, you don't want to put it in a public comment, send to their DMs. I just offered that for you. I hope that's okay.
Thanks for saying that. You said it better than I could.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second then. Let's talk about what was the question that I just asked? We were talking
about alcohol. We were talking about alcohol because we know how important that is to all of us, okay? So, alcohol is a good question. If you're trying to lose weight, because I have patients that are mine that are overweight, they're trying to lose weight, and they're like, well, can I have like 4 glasses of wine a week? I'm like, no. So if your weight is ideally where you want it to be, which is one of the most important things when it comes to fertility, okay, I think you can have here and there a glass of wine or an alcoholic beverage, okay? Mm-hmm. To be more specific about here and there, I usually tell my patients 1 to 2 drinks once or twice a week. Now, if you're doing like pure cups of tequila, I would be concerned. If you're having something like a red wine or a white wine that has different benefits for you, a glass here, a glass there, I think you're okay. When really getting into the nitty gritty for my office, like when you've begun your injections to help grow your eggs and you're getting ready to, really do everything you can, I don't think that alcohol should be part of that plan at that point. Or right after an artificial insemination or an implantation when you could be pregnant or not pregnant, you have to use your judgment, and it's probably best not to, okay? So with that being said, I think 1 to 2 glasses maximum, once or twice a week maximum, of some wine that is drank in moderation is okay.
And I would add, you guys, just because it's coming from me and I'm going to add it, that try to choose something organic, try to choose something that's biodynamic. Just remember that whatever is in your body takes time to process in and out. And if your goal is to grow a healthy baby, then the foundation is what you put in it. So you really love your wine. There are all kinds of really, they're quite good now, biodynamic and organic wines to select from. So great question. I probably had a dozen questions about alcohol come in. Personally, when I decided I would freeze my eggs, I didn't have a single drink, a single drop of alcohol for 9 months before I even started the process of injections or hormones or any of that. And so just remember that the window of time that you're doing this is very short when you're thinking about like the rest of your life, and then add on to that the rest of your child's life, right? So it's a lot of years. So this period of time is like very, very short. Okay, so I had other things. We can go through some things in terms of nutrition if you'd like, or we can dive into some of these questions. Like, what would you like to do? Because your questions are coming in.
We're getting such excellent questions that, like,
yeah.
I'm thinking of one, and then another good one pops up.
Yeah.
One that I absolutely loved was, should I be freezing my eggs at the age of 40?
Yeah.
I love that question because in my clinic, I can only speak for my clinic, and I know this isn't true for most clinics. I've had people that were very open and in the light, so you would know their names, and they were part of reality TV shows that at like 44 years of age froze eggs and came back at 46 and said, I found Mr. Right, and at 47 delivered the most beautiful baby ever. So if you're 40, I think the most important step would be, why don't you do a consultation with a doctor to assess how fertile you are? If your fertility levels are great, you are absolutely welcome to start. If some people would say if economically it's not worth it and you may make very few eggs, then maybe for you personally it's not. My motto is one egg is better than no egg.
Yeah.
Because one egg leaves you in the game, and as long as you have some eggs, it's better to be in the game and not close doors for your future than completely give your option of not being pregnant when you're older a closed door from right now.
Beautiful. And as a patient, I resonate with that, and I absolutely agree. It's always better to give yourself options. And now with COVID, and I saw a lot of questions about COVID. I hope you're open to kind of answering some of those questions about the vaccine and COVID. It's now allowed you to do a telemedicine call with Dr. G. I mean, how beautiful is that? Maybe before that wasn't as much of an option. So I think options have opened up for us in this kind of like new paradigm. So
I wanted to actually comment on I think that my patients right now, from the comfort of their own living room, sitting next to their husband, don't have to drive 30 minutes, an hour, park and find parking, come up here, start doing paperwork when they arrive here. I think they're so much more calm, controlled, and open about things with me than rather coming in here. I don't know why we didn't do this more before, but I think the fact that you don't have to drive to come here, drive to go home, find a babysitter, or leave work and do all these things that you had to do in the past has really, really, really benefited the way that we're practicing medicine and the comfort level that I feel with my patients. Now, there's some downside to not having someone in person in front of you as well, but overall, I think they're doing great. We also are helping people that really want to come to our clinic because the IVF lab is renowned and doing really well. For example, begin their process of monitoring and doing their injections in a different fertility center, and then flying in just for a few days for the actual procedure and then leave.
Wow. So many, I mean, it's great to know. And I think that there's a lot of people that are on right now that aren't even aware of the possibilities and the options that they have. So that was really helpful. And thank you to, it's already scrolled up, but thank you for the person that asked that. We have a lot. That would be my second most question that came. The number of questions that came in the highest after that question was about the vaccine.
Okay.
And if you should do it. If you should do it if you're trying to get pregnant, if you should do it if you're already pregnant. I mean, obviously in this time. And so I don't want you to put you on the spot at all. And I just want to add the disclaimer.
No, so this is a question that my DMs and my personal phone exploded when and still to this day I'm getting questions. I'm getting questions about, my 18-year-old daughter wants to get a vaccine. Do you recommend it? Or I may want to get pregnant next year. What do you recommend? So the amount of information and data that is out there from the injections and from the vaccines is very, very limited. There have not been double-blinded studies that showed what happens to the people that didn't get the vaccine, the people that did get a vaccine, comparing their fertility in the future, which would be a perfect way of doing it. However, I look at it a little differently. Even though the data is not there, the risks of being pregnant and catching COVID and already having a reduced pulmonary area, so meaning your lung space as you're pregnant is already reduced because the baby is pushing on it, okay? That entire complication risk of having another level of deterioration in your breathing and your oxygenation for a pregnant woman could be so disastrous that it could be worse. Also, not knowing what could happen to your child when it's born, years from now when they got COVID, is, I think, to me, more worrisome too than just the vaccination. So despite the fact that there's no good data on it and everyone has to make their personal decision on it, I don't know what the other option is right now of living a successful life in this pandemic and being able to move around and live a more normal life without getting the vaccine. And that's why I encourage it for my patients. We do have recommendations because of the immune aspects of what it does to people, like when they get their injections. And, when I got my second vaccine, I got so sick for like 24 hours. I felt horrible. That little rise in your immune system, we actually asked that people wait for like 4 weeks before we put an embryo back in them. So if you're thinking about getting pregnant, maybe just waiting a little bit before actually doing so, maybe a smarter thing to do.
That was great. Really, really helpful, Dr. G. I mean, that was what, like you said, your phone exploded. People found out you're coming on. My DMs and my texts exploded. What does he think about the vaccine? So thank you so much. That was really, really helpful. We have a lot of very specific questions that are coming in. I want to just address some very basic nutrition questions so that we at least cover that during this. So we talked about high antioxidants. We talked about no trans fats, saturated fats but you don't want to have no fats. You want good, high quality fats from vegetables, like avocado is a great, really, and from nuts. These are great sources of healthy fats that can really help with your fertility. We talked about, maybe we haven't talked about, but you want to get iron as well, but you want it from, I personally think getting it from a plant-based source is ideal. From a Chinese medicine perspective, I remember working with an acupuncturist, and she really felt that getting it from an animal source was better when it comes to Chinese medicine. Either way, if you do choose it from an animal source, make sure it's obviously organic, grass-fed, free range, all the things that you want to check off just when you're choosing an animal-based protein. We talked about sugars, so you want to choose slow carbs, and I think that a lot of people get confused about sugar and carbs, and they think no carbs is what you want. You want slow carbs, which means slowly digestible carbs like fiber, things that are rich in fiber, whole grains, vegetables, good fruits, beans. These are all really, really good for you and good for your body overall, which really helps with your fertility. And something that we didn't touch on was movement and stress. And so we talk so much about lifestyle here, and Dr. G was talking about how he's hitting lifestyle points on his new podcast and how important that is for fertility. Managing your stress is, in my personal experience, one of the most important things that I went through, and didn't actually, I was managing my stress at the very beginning of the process, but knowing now with all that experience and what I do for a living, how important that is for fertility. So I was wondering if you could touch on that, Dr. G, just a little bit, because you probably see it all the time. Patients come in, they want to get pregnant, they're not getting pregnant, how that stress affects your fertility.
So I'm a firm believer that stress truly affects everything in your life.
Yeah.
There's nothing like stress affecting your body in a negative manner.
Yeah.
I have really seen it myself, where my patients have been under extreme stress and they didn't even do well in the treatments that we had for them. And they go on a vacation and they come back pregnant. So I've literally seen that happen many, many times before. So I think stress reduction, and whether it has to do with eating clean so you feel good about yourself, exercising so you feel good about yourself, or meditating and taking over the mind's control of your body, I think is beyond important. One thing I wanted to add, we talked about antioxidants, and I wanted to give a specific. Studies have shown, and I'm saying it slowly because people are commenting that I'm talking too fast. So studies have shown that CoQ10, 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 in its purest form, which is called ubiquinol, when taken 600 milligrams a day, slows down the aging of many of the cells of your body, including the egg cells. So the oocyte, which is the egg, they kind of slow down that process once we have people taking this. And studies showed that, not just speculation, but studies showed that ubiquinol 600 milligrams a day is an excellent supplement. And people are like, well, and then I have people that take it from that day until the day they freeze their eggs or the day they do the IVF. No. If you're someone that is out there trying to take the ubiquinol 600 milligrams a day, that is what you would take from now until you know your fertility is completed, because it's a long time effect of it that slows down the aging of the body. I hope that was very helpful, because that's a question that I get all the time.
Yes.
The CoQ10 has to be in a gel formulation of ubiquinol, not the chalky form. Those are just expensive supplements that you're going to clear out of your kidney system, and it does not have the benefits of it. So yes, thank you for North Star for putting that CoQ10 ubiquinol 600 milligrams a day.
Yes, thank you for that. And just to share with you guys out there, that's what I did when I was going through egg freezing process and going through IVF. I took exactly what Dr. G said. And I had a question that came in about the carbs. If you have PCOS, it's slightly different. You would have to lower your carb intake a bit. That's a specific condition. So thank you for pointing that out in response to what I said before. But yes, bee pollen, propolis, royal jelly, there's a lot of different supplements that can be helpful. Someone had typed in NAD. I've actually recommended NAD to some of my clients. Dr. G, how do you feel about NAD?
So I have no problem with anyone taking NAD, but there have been no research studies that have proven its benefits in fertility. So if it's something that you're feeling good to take, feel free to do so. Thank you for asking if men should take the CoQ10 as well. Studies have shown that the man should take 200 milligrams, which is only one pill of 200. The women, we prescribe the 200, so it's 3 a day. The man only needs to take 200 milligrams of ubiquinol, which has been shown to be the perfect amount of an antioxidant for sperm well-being.
Yes. And so thank you for pointing that out. I don't know who said that. Thank you. I think that's yes. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. G. And then also, bee pollen has also, it's also said that bee pollen can be helpful for male fertility as well. You would know better if there's a lot of science behind that, but from an Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine perspective, that's something that I've had some clients just add into their smoothies. They don't have an allergy to it. It's fairly harmless. It's either going to help them or not do anything. What are you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely all about things that really don't harm people. So bee pollen has a lot of benefits for your immune system and for a lot of other aspects of your life. I am absolutely for taking it. No study has truly shown that. The studies that have really proven benefits for male sperm well-being include a lot of amino acids, like L-carnitine is the big one. And so a lot of the supplements that men take have to have amino acids. The one problem that we've seen with the male supplements is sometimes there are a lot of pills. So a prenatal vitamin can be all squeezed into one. I give a prenatal. The prenatal that I like to recommend is actually 3 smaller pills a day. It's better absorbed. It's spread out during the day. It has the folic acid in it, which is in the methylfolate form, which is better. But the male supplements, like the best one that I found out there is actually 6 pills a day. And that's a lot. And when you suddenly take that many amino acids and that many proteins all at once, it begins to upset people's stomach. So I think it's best to kind of spread those out during the day. Some of the powders that are the male supplements are really horrible tasting. So my benefit, the one that I have is a supplement that's taken 6. It's spread out during breakfast, lunch, and dinner, along with that 1 CoQ10 a day. And I think beyond that, you need to start looking at lifestyle things, like anything that heats up the body, like steam rooms, saunas, jacuzzis, super tight underwear, excessive amounts of cycling. Those are all things that could affect men in a negative way.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Dr. G, for pointing that out. That's something that I don't think a lot of men are aware of, and even women, aren't fully aware that too much heat in that sacral area and that region of the body can affect fertility. And
thank you for saying that. Women as well. Excessive heat to the body of a woman is maybe not as bad because testicles are outside of the body, the ovaries are inside, but it still can affect you in a bad way.
So and we had some questions about replays. Yes, you guys, we record everything. We clean up the audio and the video, and we will repost this. We'll have it on YouTube, on Facebook. We'll have it on our podcast, and we'll have it on IG here. So I know you're rapidly scribbling notes. Don't worry, you will have an opportunity to have replay with the subtitles. So should we dive into some more of these questions, Dr. G? I know
I am more than happy to answer anything that you would like me to answer. You have me here, and any question. I love questions. I love hard questions.
Okay, so amazing. Amazing.
I'm happy to answer.
Okay, great. So let me scroll back up. There were a couple situational questions that I thought would be helpful because I know that it crosses over to a lot of different people. This one came through twice, so I think they really want us to ask it. What are the chances that a male's fertile capacity may be affected by their age, or rather lifestyle, as they age? So can
very
lifestyle
very clear. So sperm well-being, as everyone knows, until the day that a man is alive, they're producing sperm. However, lots of studies have shown that after the age of 40, the well-being of the male sperm goes downhill. It doesn't go downhill rapidly for everyone, and some men still into their 80s are able to have kids and no problem. But there have been some links with chromosomal abnormalities increasing with men over the age of 40. There have been some very scattered links that there may be insinuations that autism could potentially be going up after the age of 40. However, the studies are really poor and not linked. So many men in our community have come in, especially because of all of the things that they've heard about COVID affecting male fertility, which I don't know if it's true or not. No one in my industry does, but somehow in other industries are talked about all the time. Freezing sperm. So the idea of freezing sperm is so easy and so inexpensive compared to women having to freeze their eggs, and the process that takes long and is so expensive. So freezing sperm has been something that many people are doing, especially since men aren't getting pregnant as having kids with as younger ages as well.
No, and that's such a good reminder, you guys. I mean, truly, it's so easy for you guys to do it. You don't have to go through this whole rigmarole. It's easy. It doesn't cost much. I mean, I knew guys that did this in college for money, and then they forgot about it in their 30s, and in their 40s. And it's again giving yourself options, just like a little insurance policy. We have a lot of women who are in their 40s, mid 40s, asking questions about, just the risk of Down syndrome, the risk involved in pregnancy if they're trying to actually get pregnant themselves, as opposed to a surrogate. What your thoughts are on that. We have someone who did one cycle of IVF, had 2 good follicles. She was 44, and then no follicles 3 months later. So a lot of questions around that.
The best advice that I could give any woman over the age of 40, okay? And I see patients 45, 46, I see patients in their late 40s, but the best advice I could give any woman who has hit 40, and to be honest, any woman in general, but definitely for women over the age of 40, is not to waste any time. 1 month here, 1 month there, another month there. Before you know it, that's 3 months. Before you know it, it's 6 months. 6 months or 3 months in the fertility life of a 43-year-old, 44-year-old is huge. Now, already things have gone down significantly with women as they get older, but why hurt things more? And that's why you have to become incredibly proactive. I have a lot of patients telling me, like, should I take 3 months off? I've read that it takes 3 months for the egg cycle, and I don't believe in doing that. I think supplements are important for the female body and your well-being, but taking 3 months off to help see if a supplement potentially helps you, to me, is not a great idea. You take supplements in general to keep your body as healthy as possible, but the most important thing you can do is be as proactive as you can be. Get on a phone, make an appointment, discuss step by step your own personal guidance, not general things I'm telling right now to 650 people, but general things that have to do with you specifically. And I know it becomes difficult. I know, and I see it every day when I'm talking to my patient that's over the age of 40. But being proactive and trying to take your eggs out, or if you're in a relationship and you want to, okay? If you want to go ahead and do everything you can, with IVF, you can genetically test your embryos so that you know that the embryo going in you is completely healthy. Okay? And that, to me, is huge. Being able to weed out Down syndrome and other chromosomal abnormalities in a woman that's 42 years old and making sure that the embryo going in her is healthy, and also the embryos that are sitting there waiting for her for the future kid when she comes back at 45 and wants to have another child is normal, for me, is very, very important. And when you do it naturally at that age, you're not able to do so until you're pregnant, until you get to the amniocentesis when you're 4 or 5 months pregnant, and then see what happens.
And it's so helpful, and I thank you for all the hearts. I can tell that everyone is just so grateful for you, Dr. G. I'm so grateful that you're on here sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yes, no, it's such a pleasure, and so much information to the community. We had a lot of questions just about basic foods. Okay, so you guys, we talked about antioxidants. You can get them through a supplement, ubiquinol 200 milligrams 3 times a day. You want, obviously, to have extra folic acid. You can do it through a multivitamin, through prenatal vitamin, or get yourself tested, see what your levels are at. Maybe you need a little bit more than what's in a prenatal. You want to get plenty of iron. I recommend getting iron from a plant-based source. That's seeds, pumpkin seeds, beans, spinach, beets, all kinds of, there's so many great vegetables out there that are full of iron, but you always want to have something that's full of iron with something that's full of vitamin C. Helps your body absorb it. That's like a little, food combination type trick. And I think I have that on my blog. So if you have questions, let me know about that. You want to stay away from sugar. You want to stay away from high saturated fats that aren't good fats. You want to have some slow carbs, that's slowly digested carbs, like whole grains. Again, we talk about vegetables are really, really good carbs. I like to take as much protein as possible from a vegetable source. I'm not sure how you feel about that, Dr. G, but there's so many great sources of plant-based protein. So peas, nuts, seeds are all really, really high in plant-based protein. But again, I brought up Chinese medicine, and they kind of prefer from an animal source. So I'm not sure how you felt about it.
Serena, to be very honest, you keep saying something that I don't know if people are hearing. What you keep saying is a well-balanced diet.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think so many people in the U.S. right now, especially here in our country, are so focused on calorie counting and weight loss and a fear of fat and a fear of carbs that it's actually hurting them.
Yes.
So I personally, the way that I like to tell all of my patients and the way I like to live life is a little bit of everything. And a little bit of healthy things. And you know what? For everyone who knows me really well, I have a major sweet tooth. So it's the hard part for me to control. But with that being said, I think, a little bit of something sweet won't kill you either. Okay. And a little bit of everything done in a healthy manner. But there are so many healthy proteins and carbs that you can do and get them into your body in a healthy way, and your body needs them. I think that a little bit of everything is the best advice that I've given to my patients. And we talked about this. The foods that are involved in the Mediterranean diet, okay, is what I find delicious for me and beyond healthy, So that is something that I really believe in. And looking at the East and the West meeting each other is also a very smart way to go about this. There are so many things that we have learned over the thousands of years of Chinese medicine and herbs. There are reasons why these things are still that important. And I love it because when I was traveling to China a lot, because a large patient population was coming to me from there, I would go to pharmacies where there were all herbs. It was all herb pharmacy, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, Dr. G, because I just want to share with everyone that I did that. I still have an acupuncturist that I see regularly, and
love
I
acupuncture.
And I did that. I did that before I went through my IVF cycle. I did it during, and I think it really helped. And so I did. I had acupuncture. I drank the teas, and with my doctors, they worked with a lot of patients who are going through that process as well. So I'm so glad that you love it as well, and it's
absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, and absolutely believe. There's another category that we don't even have here in the United States, and I've heard it's called the Yin and the Yang. In the Middle Eastern cultures, they call it the hot foods and the cold foods, and it has nothing to do with temperature. And having a balance, and it's very difficult to even explain this idea to the Western world, but having this balance of foods that warm up your soul and your womb and getting them ready for pregnancy, I think is incredibly important. And I always had heard women in my community from the Middle East talk about eat this food and eat dates and eat nuts and things. But when I started to have a lot of Chinese patients who all would tell me the same things, it made it very clear that this is so important. You cannot get pregnant if your womb is cold. And I'm not saying put a heating pad on, but you have to do this with the use of foods that warm your soul. And a lot of the herbs that the Chinese acupuncturists give are to all warm up the inside and get them ready for foods. And again, it's not necessarily soups, which someone is asking, that has temperature of warmth, but there are things that you put in your soup that will be warming. Do you talk about that on any of your blogs or things?
You know what? It's funny because I'm just looking at it. I'm like, people want to know. So if you guys are interested, I can do a blog post about damp foods, like warming foods, all these foods that are very much part of it's Chinese and Ayurvedic, that it's exactly what Dr. G said. It's really about warming, and we also want to tone down inflammation as well. So sometimes you need cooling depending on what your disposition is, but so you need a balance of warming, cooling foods, and foods that aren't too damp, and that really helps support your reproductive organs. So I can absolutely do that, and I can share it with you, Dr. G.
Please, that would be probably the one thing I've not been able to nail down over the years is someone that understands that well enough to be able to explain to a Western person what is involved with that. So when I do an embryo transfer, one of the biggest things we discuss is okay, over the next week, I need you to start eating these foods. Don't ask why. Just follow my instructions. I don't want to do that. And I want to be able to explain a little bit more about that.
Yes. Okay. Well, then you guys, I'm going to get nerdy, and I am going to do a blog post for you that explains all the reasons why. And then that way we can share it. We can link it actually to the replay for this. And when it's a podcast, and I can send it to Dr. G's, so you can share it as well. And I know that there's a lot more questions, but we're coming up to the hour. And so we promise our editor that we always try and cap everything around the hour, between 45 minutes and an hour, because it's a long editing process for her. But, I know there's more questions. Dr. G, again, we can follow you here, right? Everyone can follow you here on your personal Instagram.
Yep, it's right there at the bottom. It's the Dr. Shahin Ghadir page. We're on Instagram and Facebook. And then the podcast that is just up and coming and doing really well, and I'm so proud of. It's called The Fertile Life. And also the YouTube channel, which has a lot of incredible information on it. I would love to do this again if you can.
Okay.
I think we should spread it out, and I think we should collect the information and questions and be able to just do more of this, because we got so many messages saying that this is so important that you're talking about this, and no one else is. And I get that from every single talk that we do and that I do. That's the feedback that I get back. So thank you so much for having me.
You're
Everyone
so
that's there, your questions were amazing. I hope that this helps people. As long as it's helped one person, I am so grateful for this opportunity to be able to be here. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Dr. G. And we'll figure this out. We'll turn this into like a series. We'll go back and forth. And you guys, we can also take it to Clubhouse too. I normally do that. And I wasn't really sure today, like how's it gonna go, but now we got a taste. We know that there's so many questions. So, we'll figure it out, Dr. G, and we'll either do a series here where we do a follow-up Q&A, and then you can hear people's voices, which I know people love, and can ask you questions directly there as well. We can set that all up.
Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Okay, amazing. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for staying on, and I will see you so soon.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.